Hello, YouTube. Earlier today, I read a Eurogamer article talking about some PvP and what's been going on there with Elite Dangerous. And having been part of early PvP communities that have since really kind of faded away for a couple of reasons within Elite Dangerous, I thought I would kind of touch on the subject. Now, in the article, they point to one player organization who's going into other people's private groups that are designated PvE only. And there's no way within the game mechanics for a group leader to say, oh, PvP is not allowed, only PvE, you can't shoot other players, no damage will register. You can't set up your own private groups to have those type of mechanics. So it's much like the game universe that it's still open attack on anybody can attack anybody. It's basically a self-policing community. And I'm sure that the folks who go in there and this particular player group, that their stated goal is to create chaos and havoc within the universe, within the limitations of the game rules. And there's nothing really in the game rules that say you can't go into these private group instances and behave as a, quote, pirate, unquote. But this starts to devolve into the classic MMORPG trope of Care Bears versus all PvPers or griefers. And I don't really want to touch on that subject here today. I want to talk a little bit more about kind of the disappointment that I think Elite Dangerous has had in the eyes of many PvPers. I don't know if I'm exactly of that group. I think that if you would have asked me about 9 or 10 months ago, I certainly would have been back in late last summer, or especially the early part of last summer. Then I stepped away for a couple of months during last summer, came back to Elite Dangerous with a little bit different perspective after having stepped away for a couple of months. And I started to realize a couple of things of what happened when it came to PvP in the Elite Dangerous universe. So a couple of things I noted about what basically led to disappointment among many PvP fans with Elite Dangerous. And one of them is the fact that it was about 2 years from the time that the project was announced until it was released. And during that 2 years, it allowed people to basically sit there and daydream and wonder what could be an Elite Dangerous and start developing this vision of what Elite Dangerous should be to them and project that on what it would be. And then when the reality set in that this isn't what, Elite Dangerous is what it is, and it was not some of these things that people had dreamed up, they were disappointed. Now, Star Citizen is going to suffer a similar phenomenon, and probably even more pronounced due to the length of its development cycle now stretching into years beyond what was originally proposed. So it'll be interesting to see history maybe not repeat itself, but certainly rhyme here in a couple of years with that game. The other thing that I think really drove at least a significant subsection of the PvPers out there absolutely batty with frustration was the fact that they PvP in order to have a direct impact on the game world around them. They do it in order to enforce their will, how they think the game should be played by other people, onto those players. Rob Irving said that in a recent interview that 90% of the folks who played Ultima Online did so for a certain reason, but 10% of the population played the game expressly to ruin the experience of the other 90%. And not saying that all PvPers fit into this mentality, but certainly a good chunk of them do. And the fact that they can't have this impact on the Elite Dangerous universe like they would like to frustrates them. For instance, due to instancing mechanics, which is more technical than gameplay decisions, it's impossible, even in open play, to completely lock down a star system or blockade a spaceport or anything of that liking. And simply put, if you do pull somebody out of interdiction or they see that you're in the system, they can simply just log out and switch to another game mode, still have an impact on the game universe as a whole, but there's nothing you can do to directly stop them. And I think that with the introduction of power play and the way that its mechanics are implemented, it drove those who wanted to actively engage in PvP and sought that power play would be a way in order to do that, came away with an incredibly bitter taste in their mouths because people could just go run supplies in solo mode and there was nothing you could directly do to stop them. It's not like you could go into their instance and interdict them out and then destroy them to keep those supplies from undermining one of your faction's star systems. No, instead you had to engage in indirect action. There was a counter move that you could do in your own solo instance to counteract what they're doing and tipping the scales to decide who controls that system at the end of a turn or whether or not it goes into turmoil or you expand and things like that. And that wasn't the type of gameplay experience that those folks were after. Well, that's kind of my thoughts on the subject. You can feel free to tell me where I'm wrong in the comments section below. But that's basically what I observed. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.